Severe weather is about to return in full swing, along with the tropics. They're about to heat up, and I'm going to be breaking down in today's video what you need to expect for your location, whether that be in terms of severe weather or tropical activity. So diving right into today's forecast, we do have two separate marginal risks of severe weather. We have a marginal risk here in northern Minnesota, and then we have a marginal risk extending from portions of Montana and Wyoming back into portions of Kansas, Missouri, and Iowa. So we're watching this closely. We do see a damaging wind and large hail threat today. There's the wind and hail. No tornado risk today, thankfully, but we can't rule out a brief tornado somewhere. Moving on to tomorrow, you see we up that risk level to a level 2 out of 5 slight risk from portions of Montana into portions of South and North Dakota. Marginal risk extending from portions of western Montana back into Nebraska and into portions of Wisconsin and Iowa. And actually, tomorrow we do actually have a tornado risk. We do have a 2% tornado risk in portions of North Dakota. We do have a 15% wind and a 15% hatched hail risk. We could see some hailstones maybe up to the size of baseballs tomorrow. And moving on to Friday, not very often we see this. A day 3 enhanced risk of severe weather has been put in play by the Storm Prediction Center. And this could very well be upgraded to a moderate risk at some point. Not saying it will, but it is entirely possible. So a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk of severe weather is in play from portions of Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota for Friday. A large slight risk surrounding that from portions of Nebraska into portions of Minnesota and North Dakota, and a marginal risk from portions of Montana back into portions of Kansas and Missouri, up into Wisconsin and Michigan. Barely clips Michigan, as you can tell right there. But we are watching this very closely. We have a 30% hatched and a 15% hatched significant severe risk. And we do actually have a 30% non-hatched severe risk. Very tiny corridor, but we do have this area that is not indicated with this shading right here. This dashed line that is just red, that is just a 30% risk of severe weather occurring. Now moving on to models and what your area could expect today. And this is the HRRR and what we could see today back in the central plains. And it does not look too intense. We could see a few supercells go up this afternoon from a overnight MCS that has been pushing through portions of Nebraska and Iowa. We're watching it, but we're going to have to watch anywhere in this area for some storms to go up or maybe intensify as it starts to fall apart. Back there in Kansas, we're going to have to watch for a few supercells or maybe just storms. Really just depends, but overall nothing too crazy today. Moving it north for today, we're kind of watching that same thing. Maybe a few storms to pop up out of Canada. So we could see some marginally severe gusts and hail today. Now moving on to tomorrow, that is the bigger picture. And here is what we can expect. If we go ahead and bring this forward, here we are at Thursday. We're going to be watching in North Dakota and South Dakota for supercells to go up and kind of congeal into a cluster or a line. And I want to say here, once these form into a line like this, any of these prefrontal storms that can get out in front could produce a strong tornado. So we're going to have to watch this very closely. I do actually anticipate an upgrade to a 5% tornado risk tomorrow. And as you can tell, they eventually form into a line and pose a pretty significant damaging wind threat. I would not rule out a upgrade to a enhanced risk tomorrow as well across this area right here. That is a very bad drawing. Across this area right here, I would not rule out a upgrade to a enhanced risk of severe weather. with a 5% tornado risk added across this area. So if we go ahead and push this forward a bit more, you can tell it's going to really try and bow out before falling apart. So we're definitely going to have to watch this. And it is not entirely impossible that we see a moderate risk of severe weather tomorrow if models are showing this in the morning. So we are going to have to watch this very closely. This is what the NAM-NST model is showing for tomorrow. And you can tell storms are going to go up and form to a line. It has us a bit further to the south, so that is another thing, but it has it as a pretty elongated area. So that's why I'm saying an upgrade to an enhanced risk or even moderate risk is definitely possible for tomorrow. Here, moving on to the GFS, and this is the jet stream, and here's what's driving all of it. We actually have a few shortwave troughs down here in Mexico that are going to be producing that severe weather across portions of Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska today. And then we have our jet stream up here that is, it's not really digging or anything, but as we move forward, we're going to have to watch this as it does actually kind of start to form a bit more and kind of dig. So we're going to have to watch that very closely. And our low pressure system spinning in Canada is going to be able to produce all of those storms to flare up. And then, as you can tell, our jet stream remains pretty far to the north. So we're definitely going to have to be watching this closely. But if we keep getting these systems that keep diving out of Canada, like this one right here, we're going to have to be keeping an eye on this whole area, as severe weather is going to be likely if we keep seeing our jet stream remain extremely far to the north in portions of Canada. So we're definitely going to watch it closely, and I am going to update you as often as possible with the latest conditions. Now moving on to what radar may look like, and I wanted to point out, here is our system for the 8th. As you can tell, definitely looking at a strong MCS or even potential derecho. So we're definitely going to watch that closely. And we're going to just have to watch with our jet stream remaining extremely far to the north. We're going to have to watch more severe weather events across this area, like I had said. As you can tell, a lot of rain. It looks like August could definitely be wet. Now moving on to the European model, here's what we could expect. That jet stream is going to kind of remain the same, and it's painting that same picture as the GFS. And one thing I did really want to look at was what it's showing for the 8th here and what the discrepancy is so far. And as you can tell, it's not as intense on the Euro, but we are definitely going to have to watch this, and I will have a video out tomorrow too talking about this. And the last thing before we end off today's video, I wanted to go over the tropics again. You can tell we have a very elongated area of development here to the west of Africa. And the good news is this right now looks like it is going to miss the United States and likely just become a fish storm. But we're going to have to watch it. And then this off the east coast of the United States will likely stay off any land. It will likely produce some heavy and significant flooding across the east coast, but main impacts, if it develops, would stay to the east of the contiguous United States. And here's what we have. We have a 60% chance of development in 7 days, and a 20% chance in the next 2 days, then a 40% chance in the next 7 days, and a 10% in the next 2. Moving on to the GFS and what we can expect, and I did actually want to take a look here, and because it looks like we're going to be getting a lot of energy off the west coast of Africa that we're going to have to keep watching. But here is our current system, and as you can tell, it's going to try and make a run for the United States, but it's really not going to get there, and it's going to fall apart. But it does appear as if tons of systems are going to be trying to develop here throughout August as we move forward. So we're definitely going to have to be watching it closely. So just make sure you're staying weather aware. And I definitely could see one of these developing and becoming something big. So we're just going to watch it. Here's what the euro is showing. It's showing that same thing. It's going to try and make a run for the United States, but never really going to get there. Then we're going to see more energy come off Africa. So we're going to have to be watching our main development region very closely as we move forward. And I showed you this yesterday. This is the GEFS. And whenever we see orange, that means that we're really watching for some tropical activity. And as we can tell, here in the future, we do actually see some orange mixing in. So we're definitely going to have to watch it. Few scenarios this hits Florida, others that it hits Texas, Louisiana. Some keep it to the east of Florida. Some have it hitting the East Coast. So we're just going to have to watch it very closely, and I will keep you updated as often as possible. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And we have officially hit 1,040 subscribers. So if you guys did enjoy today's video and you have made it this far, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.